my students really quick if I could. Go kids. Grayson, I see you, boy. Come over here, son. Genesis, come on, baby. Come on, get a seat, kids, real quick. Nothing crazy, I promise. Solid. Yeah, if we're filling up the seats, there's some more over here. You guys are good. Grayson, come sit. Sit with sister. Okay. Guys, I know some of you very well, some of you not so much. I just want you to know, being here at Go Church, we really do believe in you guys. You're very, very important to us. And so I get an opportunity once a month to just say how important you are, and so we do that in different ways. And this month, I just really want to pray for you. And so, church family, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pray for the kids, and if you pray with me, I just really believe in who they are and what God's got for them. So kids, nothing crazy, I just want to pray for you guys, all right? And we'll dismiss you. So let's pray. Father God, thank you so much for these beautiful children. We're so blessed that you've given us these wonderful people to spend our lives with. I often wonder if the best thing that I'm ever going to do is just be a good dad. And so I pray that these kids would go much further in the kingdom than we ever could. I pray, God, that they would carry your gospel in places that we would never reach, that they would have the boldness and the wisdom to proclaim of your great love in powerful ways. Father God, I pray you would protect them. Keep them safe from the enemy. Keep them around their family and full of love. Help them to know that they belong to a family that loves them. Help them to know that you're a God that would never leave their side, that they always have someone that is there for them. Pray, God, that these kids would be empowered by the gospel. They would know that Jesus Christ is real and that Jesus died for them and that they have a story to tell. God, I pray that you would continue to raise them up in the ways that they should go. Help us as a church to love these kids in the way that you've called us to. God, thank you so much for the future of who they are. I believe that they are going to change the world. And I pray you would help us to equip them, to give everything we have so that they will rise up and go further and do more than we ever could, God. Thank you so much for them. We love them. Thank you for the joy they bring into our life and how blessed we are to have these kids in our life, God. We love you. We thank you so much for them. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, go kids. You guys are dismissed. Thanks again. Appreciate y'all. Have fun back there. Good group. That's awesome. So we are jumping into a new series this morning. Excited to get with you guys and talk about something that's pretty important to me. And so Above and Beyond is going to capture a couple different ideas. And what I want to talk to you guys about is where you might kind of see yourself in the landscape of what it means to be wealthy, to be rich. I don't have to answer this out loud, of course, but I want you to take a second to think. Do you consider yourself to be a rich person? I know for me, the easy, immediate answer is no. I have plenty of friends that have way more stuff than I do. I have plenty of environments and situations where I feel like if I just had a little bit more, then things would be better off. Right? I don't know about you, but sometimes we can live life where paycheck to paycheck and just kind of making things work. But if we're able to have more things and more financial resources, then maybe we could do more good for the kingdom. And if we were like this other person, then things might go in a way that would be different than they are right now. And so it's easy for the finances that I have, the finances that you have, to get overwhelmed by them, to be just your mind focused on your finances. We're going to talk about that a little bit in this series and kind of what God has planned for you. Because here's the deal. If you're like me, growing up in this great country, I've been taught what it means to acquire wealth, to be more financially better, to gain wealth, but not necessarily how to be wealthy, how to be a rich person. And so unfortunately, I think I've been taught some really bad things. And the stats would show too that actually the more money that I make, the less money I'm willing to give away. That the more money we as Americans have, that somehow instead of thinking, well, when I have more, then I'll give more, actually we give far less percentage-wise than we would have. And if you don't think that you're rich, the last time I checked, the stat is that if you make $40,000 a year or over that, you're in the top 1 percentile of the entire world's economic, as far as money goes. And so if you make anywhere in that ballpark, you have more money than most of the world. The top 1%, you make over $40,000 the last time I looked at it. And so if you've ever read the scriptures and wondered about the rich young ruler or the wealthy, just know that you are that person. We are so wealthy here in America, especially a lot of us in the jobs we have more than we need. But we might not have been taught on how to live life as wealthy people. And so what I really want to talk to you, if I'm being honest, about this month isn't necessarily how you spend your money, but what it really means to be rich and how to be wealthy in the ways that God wants you to be. Because I think when we figure that out, I think God opens some doors for us that we're not ready for, that is so exciting. And so I want to challenge you what it really means to live a life that is above and beyond, to have an understanding of who you are. And so that wealthy doesn't come from your pocketbook, it comes from your heart. Wealthy doesn't come from how much that you acquire and the things that you have, but understanding who you are and what's been done for you. And so that's what I want to help us understand, because if we can live like that, I think the world might change just a little bit. So that's what we're going to talk about. Now, the story this morning, I'm so excited because I think he's going to reveal a lot about this. Zacchaeus, if you've heard of this guy, has got a lot to teach us. And so, in kind of a different way this morning, you're going to hear on what I think God's going to teach us through this story. This is in Luke chapter 19, verses 1 through 10. It's going to be up on the screen. I've got an awesome reader this morning for you. So just kind of enjoy as it's being read to you. You can, of course, follow along in the Bible if you bring that with. I love it if you do, and take some notes on that. I use stuff on my phone too all the time, so by all means, if you can do that, do that. But the text, Luke 19, 1 through 10, will be on the screen, and go ahead and listen to this.
Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but being a short man, he could not because of the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, "He has gone to be with the guest of a sinner." But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor, and if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save what was lost."
Awesome. So Zacchaeus, you've heard the songs. He's, maybe, I don't know, growing up in Sunday school, the wee little man that he was, he had to figure some stuff out, and climbing up a tree was the way it worked. But other than the songs, and a couple times you see in the scripture, we don't know that much about this guy. Pretty clear that he was in a profession that in and of itself, to be a tax collector, was something that was needed, and so that wasn't a wrong job. But what he did with the job was, he would be someone that where he had to collect taxes, he would take a little bit extra from people, regardless of their background or economics. He would take what felt like he needed to, and he had the permission and the authority to do that. And so he was not well liked. He, as other citizens in different places of the world would come in contact with their tax collector, it was never pleasant conversation, especially knowing that he could take more than was needed. Now, he wasn't embraced either by any religious groups, as he was kind of one of these guys that they knew if Zacchaeus, if a tax collector comes around, this isn't going to be a good situation for us. And so much so to where he's in this crowd, the scene is set, and all these people want to see Jesus, and being the short guy that he is, he doesn't have opportunity to do that. No one would get out of the way. No one would want to make room for him, because he probably was in a position in life where no one liked him. No one wanted to hang out with him, because they knew if hanging out with Zacchaeus or talking with him, he's probably going to come and try and get money from you, and that's not a good way to have a relationship with people. So he's probably an outcast in some ways. Now he still had his job. And I would imagine at the time, in some ways, he felt like he was accomplished. He had gained a lot of wealth. Right? He was able to take what he wanted. But he wasn't liked by people. And so he had to climb a tree to get to be able to see who this Jesus was. And then against all odds, as the story shows, that Jesus invites a conversation with Zacchaeus. Says, "Hey, let's go to your house. We're going to have lunch today." And that, this whole situation is pretty crazy, that he would call someone like Zacchaeus. Jesus has a specialty in calling the people that we wouldn't normally suspect that he would. And so, man, this conversation, whatever took place at Zacchaeus' house, you kind of see where the story goes. All of a sudden, Zacchaeus has this massive change. I don't know that he did anything necessarily, but Jesus says something, he does something. So now Zacchaeus is saying, "Hey, listen, man, I'm going to give half what I have to the poor. All the people that I've brought from, I'm going to give them 4 times as much back for what I've done." So something happened. And he changed his story, changed his tune, and he wanted to live that way anymore. And I don't necessarily know what, and in fact, the text doesn't really reveal maybe what happened. Jesus says, "Salvation has come to your house this day." That's a pretty big deal. But I don't know what happened. Again, I know this. I know that Zacchaeus didn't do anything to earn that conversation or that transformation, but Jesus, he did something. Creative license here. I don't know that it went down like this, but instead of a conversation, I'm going to propose to you that maybe they played a game together. And not just any game. I think that Jesus, hypothetically, totally stay with me on this one. I think Jesus showed up at Zacchaeus' house, opened up a board game, and they played Monopoly together. Now, I know you're thinking Monopoly, that wouldn't work. I mean, but Jesus walked on water, right? Like, if he wanted to bring Monopoly over, he would be able to do that. Creatively, I think, and there's a reason why, so stay with me on this one, trust me. But if you ever played Monopoly before, that it's kind of fun the first time when you're winning, but then every time after that, it's just rough. If you played it before, when you're losing, it's absolutely miserable. It's a long game. That game's tough. And so I remember the first couple times I played that game, and I'm amazed by the way it's put together, that what you're trying to do is the first one that can acquire the most wealth and the best properties, and it gets a little strategic, but really it's a game where you're just trying to get all the best stuff as quick as you can. And it's funny because that game, as a board game, somehow in a lot of ways kind of shadows what life can be like for some of us. And sometimes the game that we play in life is how can you get the best stuff? How can you have the most things? Because when you have the best property and the right locations, and when you roll that dice just the best way, then you're winning the game of life. But if you're like me and you play Monopoly, man, you're worried every time you get that dice, because if you land on the wrong spot, Park Place, and every time just drains all that money that you might have had in that turn. And so it becomes a game of looking at what other people have and what you don't. And it's a game of who has the best stuff. And part of the strategy in the game, and unfortunately in life, is also how to compare what they have versus what you don't have. And again, that's why when losing happens, man, that's not when you start to see what all the stuff that they have, and you wish all the stuff that you had. And things change, and it becomes a situation where it's absolutely miserable, but you know that if you have all the right stuff, then that might mean that you're winning, and then that might mean that you're happy. But in that game and in life, that doesn't always seem to be the case. And it's funny too in that game, I don't know if this was intentional, but acquiring wealth and having these property and then going to jail every once in a while, that's just kind of part of the, I don't know, what was that lesson when I was a kid? You'll gain wealth, and maybe you'll go to jail a couple times too, and then I'm not sure how that all came together, but there's this strategy to the game. And again, it's frustrating to me, and I haven't played it in a while, but I remember when I did, I was very focused on what they had and what I needed to get so that I could beat them. And you don't win the game by how many times you make it around the board. You win the game, from what I remember, by who has the most stuff at the end of the day, right? And again, I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like just a board game. It sounds a lot like life. And sometimes it's all about, man, what do I have? Because if I have all the right stuff, then that means I'm happy, right? That if I do the things that they do and they seem happy, then maybe I'll be happy. If I look like that person, if I have what they have, then maybe things will be better. And we do this comparison thing all the time. And it seems like we play this game of Monopoly in real life, where the more stuff we have, the better that we are, the better off we are. But the truth of the matter is that it doesn't work like that. And here's the thing, too, the best part about playing Monopoly with Zacchaeus, if that ever would have happened, is that when you finish the game, whether you're winning or you're losing, if you get every piece on the board and you just clean off everybody else and you're doing really good, or you lose all your money right away and it's just miserable the whole time through, regardless of how you play the game, you know what happens in the end, right? You put all those little pieces together, you gotta organize all those little bills back in their little slots, and you put it all back in the box and you close it. Because at the end of the day, when you're done with Monopoly, the game's over, because it all goes back in the box. And so the same thing is true with life. It might seem like it's a rat race for who can get the most and who can get more and how it all comes together. Whether you're winning or you're losing, it really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's all going to go back in the box. You're not going to see a U-Haul follow a hearse to the cemetery. Right? Like, just picture that. You don't get to take all that stuff with you when you die, because it all goes back in the box. And so we live this life where sometimes we're trying to get more things and do certain things because that equals fulfillment and that equals happiness, when it just doesn't. And so, again, I don't know that they actually sat down and played Monopoly, but I think in one way or another, Zacchaeus, someone who was trying to play the game and win. He wasn't worried about making friends. He just wanted to get the most property out there and get the most money that he could, and didn't care about the relationships. And in some way or shape or form, Jesus might have taught him, hey, listen, Zacchaeus, at the end of the day, all that stuff that you're doing right now, the way you're living your life, it's all going to go back in the box. It's not really going to be worth it. And some moment, something happened, and Zacchaeus said, you know what, you're right. It's not about the stuff that I have. It's about the people in my life. And so I want to change my story. I want to give back to the poor again, to anyone that I've taken from. I want to give 4 times as much back to those people. Because I think in some way he learned that, man, those relationships are way more important. And that's where maybe the happiness really comes from. And so I think Jesus, in whatever way he did, again, probably not literally monopoly, but he would be able to do that. He taught him that it isn't about the stuff. And that lesson he continues to teach us all the time. And in fact, as much as I am aware of it, I still struggle with thinking, maybe if I just had a little bit more, that I could do a little more good, or I could do the right things, and I wouldn't be as stressed if I just had a little bit more. They would work a little bit better. And so sometimes I'll even get to the point where I can give those things, and then I can bless people, but until I get those things out, I'm not really going to worry about people in my life. Focus on getting more. Sometimes I care more about that stuff than relationships, and I take it out on people. And it just shows a whole lot about what I think God wants us to think about. And here's the thing. Jesus, he knows that. He knows that's true for me. He knows that's true for you. If he wanted to succeed as the king of the kingdom and change the world and do it financially, you know how easily it would have been? You know how easy Jesus could have just said and have all the wealth that he ever needed to do anything that he wanted to do. But he didn't use that. And that's interesting to me, that he was very successful in ministry and the legacy that he wanted to leave, and he didn't use the wealth that you and I so desperately seek after. He knew that we had to be careful about what it does to our heart when we let money get a little too close. He knew that sometimes for us, we're just trying to play that game of Monopoly. We want to have all the right stuff because we have that false God that says that equals our security. And it doesn't. And then even more, I think when Jesus wanted to bless people, want to leave a legacy to other people, he didn't just walk in there and take care of all their financial needs. It wasn't necessarily always, in fact rarely, about their finances. It's about something else. It was something more than that. And so Jesus, his currency was love. It was compassion. It was generosity. And I'll tell you what, the early church, they knew that. The early church was a group of people that just kind of knew that this Jesus guy was the real deal, and they were willing to give everything they had to it. And they weren't really wealthy. That early church didn't build this huge facility to have all these people come and be able to financially do some crazy cool things. They just loved people in their life, and they were generous to the people around them. And when someone was in need, they took care of that person. When there was an issue at hand, they loved on those people with some really authentic compassion and generosity. In fact, as Rome fell, as Rome burned the Christians, they would stay there. As the plagues came, the Christians would stay, and some died of the plague as well. And as the fires came, they would stay with the people in Rome, and they would die just alongside of them. And as Rome fell, you would think that that's the end of that. And so these Christians that were giving their lives for other people, that as this great destruction came to the place that they lived, that they would fall away as well, but they didn't. And they didn't use money to get out of it. Somehow, when they gave their love and their compassion and their generosity to other people, it wasn't their theology, it wasn't necessarily what they had to spend, but the way that they loved other people, that didn't make the church die. In fact, it blew up after that. When people saw that, man, this group of people, for no good reason, when it might cost them their life, their everything, they're willing to give and love and do things that doesn't make sense to me. And if you're anything like me, when I first heard about Jesus, it wasn't some kind of financial blessing that came into my life. It was people that said, you know what, I have it so good that I want you to know about this person. It changed everything for me. And so I think I'm learning that what it means to be wealthy has very little to do with what's in my bank account. It has so much to do about what's in my heart. And Jesus shows the early church then, and I think now, what it really means to be wealthy, what it means to be rich. And to live a life where you say, you know what, I want to be generous because he's been generous to me. I want to be giving because he's been so giving to me. I want to love people because he loved me first. And so I think that's a definition that I want us to be known by, that we would be a generous church. We would be a loving church. And in fact, we've got some opportunities that we're looking at doing that. So this Above and Beyond isn't just kind of a series title, but we want to challenge you with this idea that we've been blessed to be at this school. It's a great opportunity, and so they've been kind to us, but we want, as we share space with them, for them to know us as a generous, kind, loving group of people. And so the school year is kind of coming to a close of the school year. End of the month is kind of when things are done. And so I've been talking to the assistant principal, and May 24th, not for sure on that date, but that's probably going to be one of the last days of the school year where we have an opportunity to kind of come into the school and hang out with the teachers. Here's the deal. Their last week of school, kids are kind of going to be done. It's half days for the teachers, for the staff, and they're just trying to get through the year. Just trying to finish it off strong, do the best they can to make it through the year. And they're going to be here for lunchtime. So we've been praying, looking for ways to love on the teachers, love on the staff. There's, including the custodial staff, everyone that works at this school, about 120 people. And so we want to bless them. We want to be generous to them because in some ways, a lot of them, they know that we meet here, but a lot of the teachers, man, they have no idea that there's a church that meets here on Sundays. And I would want the whole staff to know, man, that's a generous, loving, compassionate group of people. And so we've got an opportunity on that day. And again, I'm talking with her last week and this week and trying to nail down that day, but I think it's going to be May 24th. I'll need a couple of you to help me, but what we're going to do is we're just going to bless their socks off and take care of this meal, host a big lunch for them on that day so that they're busy at work, trying to wrap up the school year, that they can just walk in and have an awesome lunch provided to them by this church that happens. And so we get an opportunity to love them, and I need a couple of you to kind of help me serve the food on that day, but more importantly, to kind of think above and beyond and how can we financially take care of this big meal. It's 120 people, it's something that we can pull off, but it's above and beyond because I think that in addition to what you already do, if you give here, we're so grateful that you've made that decision. But this is something that's extra. And so we want to bless the school because we feel like that's what Christians should do. That's what a church should do for the campus. And so this is one of the many ways that we want to continue to bless the school. And so above and beyond right now means that it isn't just about being a part of the church and giving the way that you do, but above and beyond what you normally would give, make a specific note for above and beyond for the series. Because all this month, the 3 weeks, this week and the next 2 weeks, we're going to kind of do above and beyond anything extra that you give. So if you've got $1, you've got $20 and you want to give just to above and beyond, we're going to take that money and then use it to pay for the food and just go to town and bless these teachers at the end of the month. And again, it should be the 24th. You'll know more about that. And then I would need some of you that could just be here to help serve the food as well on that day. So this is a great way to do it. And here's the best part is that if you do, when they ask, why are you guys doing this? What's the reason? Like, why would a bunch of people be generous to just do that? Well, if you knew who was generous to me first, right? Like, I'm not doing this because it's in me to be that good. I'm doing this because I've been given so much in my own life. And why are you loving us like that? Well, because I've been loved first. And I can't not now, right? Now, why are you compassionate? And one of the things that's neat too is that I want to do this now because I want them as they're preparing for next year. Now the whole staff would know that there's a church that meets here, and so we can get a little bit closer and a little bit more connected to, okay, here's some things that they need. How can we be generous and love on the school that we're meeting and be the type of people where it isn't about the message that comes out of our mouth, but the fact that we are a generous, loving people. And that people would see that and they would know that that's who we are. Because at the end of the day, it all goes back in the box. Does it really matter how much stuff that we get? But if we can leave a legacy and love other people, come what may, whether a lot of people show up and come to church or a couple of people just have their stomach full on a day after school. Either way, it doesn't really matter to me because I want to love people like I've been loved first. I want to be generous like God's been generous to me. And I think when we live that way, that gets the attention of other people in the way that is authentic and is the way that Jesus would want us to, because he didn't sell them any kind of pitch. He didn't give them any kind of line. And the early church knew, just as I think we're learning, man, you be honest and authentic with people and tell them about what's been done for you and that Jesus has set you free. That's hard to deny. That's hard to walk away from. And so I want to be a generous church. I want to live above and beyond the means that I have. And even though you might doubt if you're in a place where you can financially give or if you're able to serve, man, God, he's working on our hearts. He's working on mine all the time. And I think he, whether it's a game of Monopoly or not, he's teaching me as he taught Zacchaeus, man, get some perspective, Jake. Don't worry about the paycheck as much. Don't worry about what's in your pocketbook. That part's going to work itself out. In fact, you're going to cause more stress and more worry. Worried about your finances if you would just trust me. And we're going to talk a lot more about that next couple of weeks, man. With our finances, if we would just trust God, he will take care of us. He always has and he always will. I've had some rough days, but every time, every moment, he's always there. He always says, maybe not in the way I would want, in the time that I would want, but he is always faithful, and he'll take care of me. And when I give back, and you know, it's better to give than receive. When I live my life the way he called me to, he's such a good father. He gives me back blessings that I never deserved. And so I think if you would, in whatever way God's called you, now as a church, we're looking at doing this at the end of the month. That's one way we can be generous as a church. And there's 100 ways God's calling you in your personal life to be kind, to be generous. to be loving to people. And when you answer that call, when you do those things, regardless of what your finances might be or the situation that you're in and unsure what God's going to do, He will go to town and bless those people and bless you in the middle of it. So I want you to, again, to think about what it means to live above and beyond. Not to be wealthy in the way that you might have been taught, not to be rich in the way that your account looks when you go check that, but to be rich in relationships, to live a legacy that's of Christ, to live a life that says, you know what, will come, good days or bad days, I know where I'm going, I know where I belong. And when Rome falls, the Christians said, I might fall as well, but this is what I've been called to do, is to love the people in my life. And even when they get nothing in return. And you might do this, you might find opportunities, whether it's this month or what I'm literally talking about right now or other times. You're not always going to get a pat on the back for the way you serve other people. But that's because you don't do it for them. The reason why I give, the reason why I would challenge you to give, is because you know here that you've already been given so much more than you deserve. And when you know that, that changes everything. And so we're going to learn to live above and beyond our own means and see how God shows up and blesses us in ways that we didn't deserve and still don't. But He's a God that likes to do that. And so I think, like Zacchaeus, let us learn the lesson that let's care for other people, because at the end of the day, it's all going to go back in the box. And we're going to have just this short time, whether we're winning the game monopoly or not. And let's leave a legacy of love, as the church did then, and will continue strongly to now. Let me pray for you, and we're going to get to some worship. Father God, I love you like crazy. I thank you for your challenges. I know that it'd be nice to kind of got a break in between your word, but you keep that challenge coming, and I think it's because you love us very much. I'm grateful that you keep putting difficult things for us to overcome in our life. I pray that we would be strong in them. I pray that you would give us the means and the way to live the life you've called us to. God, help us to do the things that we know we ought to do. Help us to trust you in the ways that don't always make sense, man. Logic is not the thing that you want to use on our hearts all the time. And so you call us to do things that don't always make sense, but you get glory through it, and I'm so grateful for that. I pray you would help us to trust you in all things, even when it doesn't make sense. I pray, God, that we would continue to see your glory as you reveal yourself to us. I pray, Father, that we would trust you, please, because we need it. I pray you would help us in our own specific, unique situation to trust you with our finances, to live a life where we're wealthy, not in our bank account, but in our soul. That we're filled to the brim with your blessings, God, that we can pour that back out with other people. I love you, God. I thank you for this opportunity, for this church, this group of people that I get to spend my life with. It's an honor, God. I'm so grateful. It's in your son's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, guys, we're going to do one song as we're closing. But again, if you've got questions, there's connections and next steps in the back and all kinds of stuff that we can help you out with. I'm so grateful that you guys came around. It's just an honor to spend time with you. So as you guys are leaving, you're going to enjoy this last song and have a good time with it. Yep, so you all are dismissed.